Well, let's see. What is glutathione? Well, glutathione, we could say it's the most important substance inside a human being for life, more important even than the very oxygen we breathe. Glutathione has been part of life from the very moment we are conceived. Human cells produce glutathione, but the paradox is that after a certain age, specifically from the age of 20, there is a steep decline in these glutathione levels. As a result, the aging process can be said to reach its turning point starting at age 20. But from the very moment we are conceived, we already have glutathione inside our body. Glutathione is so important that the oxygen we breathe would be meaningless if we didn't have it inside our bodies. Glutation. That is 2 minutes. A human being without glutamate in their body would die. In other words, it's vital for life. It's so vital that as of today, and I say as of today because science is advancing rapidly, it is the most studied molecule, the molecule with the most scientific and medical studies to date. Why? Because since it's so vital, so essential for life, so important, studies have been conducted in every possible way to see how it can benefit human beings. And the truth is, there are many. So many that as of today, there are already more than 190,000 scientific and medical studies that support the benefits produced by glutathione in various aspects of human health, both for preserving health and for improving it in cases where a person has already reached a state of illness. And why is it so necessary today? Glutathione, more than in other times of our lives, or compared to other eras in human history? Simply put, today, in the times we are living in, we are in the era, in the 21st century, at the moment of the greatest scientific and medical advances that have ever existed throughout human history. But there is a paradox, and that is that with so many scientific and medical advances, there is also the highest number of non-communicable diseases that humanity has ever experienced throughout its existence. What are non-communicable diseases? For example, high cholesterol, excess diabetes. Cholesterol is not contagious. If a person has high cholesterol, it is not contagious to another person. Diabetes is not contagious. It can be genetic or not, but it is not contagious. That's why they are called non-communicable diseases. And why is that? Why is all this happening? Well, simply because we have moved away from something that as humanity, we should never have distanced ourselves from, which is nature. The moment human beings move away from nature to immerse themselves in, let's call them industrialized environments, where food ceases to be what it once was, food is, well, instead of natural food, as it used to be called, now we could call it edible products. Edible means something that doesn't kill you, but it doesn't really nourish you either. Therefore, that is the real problem we have, that 80%, and I mean it, this is backed by the most renowned nutritionists worldwide. 80% of the food on supermarket shelves today is edible products, but it is not nutritious food. So since it isn't nutritious food, the human body, human biology suffers, and we are highly, let's say, intoxicated. You could call it intoxicated, acidified, you could call it inflamed. All of that is what's happening. And furthermore, as a result, we are currently living in a time. Also, the amount of chemical and toxic substances entering our bodies today, like plastics in water, plastics in food, heavy metals as a result of industrial processes, is enormous. It's tremendous. And if a person is not truly aware that in order to preserve their health, they need to eliminate and remove all of that from their body, then sooner or later they will end up experiencing what we are living through today. The greatest epidemic of non-communicable diseases that humanity has ever experienced throughout its history. That's why a molecule, a substance like glutathione becomes so essential, of course, only for those who are aware that the greatest treasure, the greatest gift one can have, the greatest asset a human being can possess, greater than any boat, house, yacht, or airplane, is their own health. Because if you don't have health, nothing else is worth anything.